So they say that this is Chimeka Garricks' debut novel, and I'm like, debut novel what? Because this book was just too good, and it was such a fantastic read. I cannot even wait to discuss it with you guys, so let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back. It's Rachel. If you're new, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a thing. Today I'm going to be discussing this lovely book right here. It's called Tomorrow Died Yesterday. It's Chimeka Garricks' first novel. I know that I recently did a book review of A Broken People's Playlist, which was released in June, and I did a book review of that. That's his second book, and this is his first book, which was actually published in 2010. Now, we read this book as our book of the month for June, and we discussed it in the first week of July. Yes, first Saturday of July. So this book review is definitely coming way after, and I'm like, I must record. I've been battling, should I still record, should I not record? But I'm like, no, I need to talk about how lovely this book is. We actually participated in a giveaway in June, and we won 17 copies of this book, which was sent to us, and then we read it, and most of us actually loved it. At least those of us that finished it actually loved it, and we're privileged enough to have Chimeka Garricks join us on a Zoom call where we discussed the book and asked him questions that we wanted to ask. We had so many burning questions and we're able to ask him, so we're so lucky that we had that opportunity. So I'm going to read out the synopsis of the book so that you guys know what this book is about. It's 2004 Port Harcourt. At the height of the kidnap of oil workers in the Niger Delta, a kidnapping goes awry and 4 lives are reconnected. Doye, aka Doughboy, the career militant responsible for the crime; Amaibi, the gentle university professor, eco-warrior accused; Kanye, the lawyer turned restaurateur who tries to get him off; and Tubo, an amoral oil company executive. Against a backdrop of corrupt practices, failed systems, and injustices, these 4 friends tell the story of oil in a region and its effect on local communities and the Nigerian larger society. Chimeka Garricks, in his extraordinary debut novel, has written a frank and moving story about the realities of contemporary Nigeria, the evil long-term effects of military rule resulting in the fragmentation and breakdown of moral values. His story paints a realistic picture of the very high price corruption exacts on a society and how no one is immune from its consequences. Before I read this book, I'd actually never really heard of Chimeka Garricks, so when somebody in the book club was like, oh my goodness, you guys, we have to participate in this giveaway and we have to win this particular book because they've read it, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm sold, let me go for it. And I was not disappointed at all. So I'm going to briefly discuss the plot, the writing style, the characterization, and the setting of the book. Now, the book is, of course, as you've seen what the synopsis is about. It's about 4 friends who are connected. They all grow up in River State in Port Harcourt, Asiama River, and they each have different lives as they become older men. One becomes a lawyer who now turns into a restaurateur. There's another one who is like an eco-warrior who is fighting against the injustices of the Niger Delta region, these gas flaring activities and oil spills that happen that sort of threaten the lives of local people in these communities. Then there's one who becomes a militant of some sort and uses violence to also fight against the injustices that are happening to the local community. And then there's someone who works in one of those oil companies. So you can see that there are 4 sort of close-knit friends who grow up in the same community but each choose different paths in their lives, and then at the end of the day their paths sort of reconnect in one huge climax that is just so amazing. I'm not even going to give away spoilers in this book as much as I'm tempted to. I'm just going to tell you what I liked about it. As I said, the book is set in Asiama or around Asiama in Port Harcourt, and actually during our Zoom call we asked the author a question about this Asiama River because some of us don't know much about Port Harcourt or didn't grow up there. So he actually then told us a secret about this place, which, oh my goodness, it was so mind-blowing. I'm not going to say anything, and maybe if you find out, fine. If you don't find out, fine. But it was just so interesting. Plot also covered like different time frames. There was 1970s something, there was 1980 something, there was 2004, because there was something, I mean, I think the huge thing that happened was in, I think, 1999 or 2004, and those were where the huge activities happened. But of course, leading up to that time, the author wanted to take us through the childhood of these four main characters and for us to see life through their eyes. So even in his writing style and in his characterization, I feel like the author really developed these characters amazingly well, to the point where you could even feel the frustrations of Doughboy, who was the crazy violent militant. You could even start excusing it to say, well, I understand why he's killing people, why he's kidnapping people, whatever, because you could tell their frustrations. You could feel the life of Amaibi, and sometimes you questioned whether his decisions were right or if he was just being a hypocrite. You could relate to Kanye and his father, you know, and he was a lawyer. And well, I could relate to Kanye because I'm a lawyer, and I really enjoyed the way his character was developed and explored. So I must definitely commend the author for the developing of the characters and his writing style. He did it from a first-person point of view, but for each of the four characters. So each of the four characters had like different chapters or different parts of the book where they explored their story, but this was happening interchangeably. So it wasn't like one character was at the beginning, another one in the middle, and another one at the end. All through the book, you could tell that there were different interchanges in the storytelling, but you were not lost on the grand plot of the book. There was also a fifth character who was Diola. She came into the picture as one of the major characters in the book, and I love the way he puts Diola into the book as a main character as well. As it relates to characters, I know that there was one particular character that I didn't really feel like I had an in-depth look into his life or his own story or his perspective on things, and that was Tubo. But I understood from the way it was written that Tubo was one of these people who work in all companies that are just like yes men, and they didn't really have any moral backing or any moral standard that they were standing on. Look, anything went for Tubo. Like if there's money here, he's doing it. If there's this one here, he's doing it. And I guess that while his character was not in-depthly explored, you could actually tell why there was that, because he didn't have any parents that he knew. I think he was dropped at the stairs of like a church or something like that, and some nuns found him and brought him in. And I think that also replayed to his name. I think his name means who, like who are you? So he grew up with that thing of, oh, who am I, or where did I come from? And it didn't really help him have a strong landing or a strong foundation as to who he turned out to be in terms of in his life as a man. I really enjoyed the way the author explored and developed the different characters. Honestly, I actually enjoyed this book. I think that my favorite characters were Kanye's dad. I just really liked the way he was described and the regal, like he just fit as all this SAN type kind of lawyers that are just older in the profession and just know what they're doing and whatnot. I liked Kanye as well because I could relate to him as a lawyer. Even if Kanye was actually practicing as a restaurateur and had a passion for food, well, I could definitely relate to Kanye. And then I actually liked Doughboy. There was just something about him, even if something happened that led to his somewhat downfall, but I'm not going to say much on that. You guys can go and read the book if you want. I really empathized with Doughboy. I knew what he was fighting for, even if I felt like some of his methods and approaches were not really the best, but I understood because this book was written in 2010 and most of the things that were discussed then are still happening now, and there are a lot of all these communities in the Niger Delta region that are still suffering from oil spillage, from gas flaring. In Port Harcourt, they have a huge case of soot. You can just wear like a white shirt out and before you know it is black because there's soot in the air. Nobody even knows if their health is okay or if they have any underlying health issues from eating fish there or just from breathing in the air that is there. And it's just, while it's been a blessing, yes, that they've found oil in that region, I think in the 70s, it was also a curse to them, especially to the local communities. And you could see a lot of corruption going on in that region at that particular time, which I'm also coming to. Yes, I enjoyed the book all in all. I know that there's one thing that I must say. I even got the chance to ask Chimeka Garricks whether he has ever considered writing legal thrillers, because this guy is so good. Like, okay, so when I started reading the book, right, I didn't really know much about him and I didn't know that he was a lawyer. So when I got to the legal thriller part of it, when they were doing Amaibi's trial and Kanye was representing him and it was a proper criminal trial, and this man, that's Chimeka Garricks, was writing this thriller like he was a lawyer. I'm like, nah, this person has to be a lawyer with the full Nigerian cases, with the way things typically go in court. I was so, you can even see how excited I am. I was literally excited as I was reading. I was like, I've never seen any book where somebody wrote a legal thriller or even included legal thriller scenes in the book where they were talking about, oh my lord this, my lord that, and having all the gesticulations, the expressions, the cases, the principles, everything was cited, everything was apt, everything was accurate. And I'm like, nah, this man definitely has to be a lawyer for him to get this. And then I went and checked his bio and I saw that he was a lawyer, so I was mighty impressed with that. I'm like, look, he needs to actually consider writing full-on legal thrillers. Like, honestly, at this point he really needs to, because it was so good and I could relate because I'm a lawyer. Kudos to you, Chimeka Garricks, for that amazing exploration of the legal field in your work. The book also explored themes like friendship and camaraderie between the friends. Oh my goodness, they had this tight-knit friendship that I absolutely admired, even though they all grew up and took different paths in life that kept on clashing. Some were illegal, some were legal, but you could just tell that their friendship meant so much to each other and they were always there for each other through thick, through thin. And I really love that about the main characters in the book. The book also explored themes like corruption, violence, oil bunkering, gas flaring, and the effects of gas flaring and oil spillage on Nigerian communities in the Niger Delta region. It explored the corruption in the aspect of where oil companies come to Niger Delta regions and say, okay, we want to do so and so activities, but this is what we're willing to give you for this. And whether scholarships or money is granted, all the village heads and the village chiefs actually end up getting all of this, to the point where the members of the community themselves do not get any part of this compensation for what is being done to their land. And one really then begins to ask the question, to what extent can compensation really be given for the damage that is being done to the earth, like to where these people live, to the rivers, to the fishes in the rivers, to people who are eating. There's so many mercury poisoning and lead poisoning that is going on, and it just, you could feel the agitation of the Niger Delta people as you were reading this book. It was real, it was relatable, because that's actually what has been happening since when it started up until now. And like I said, this book was written in 2010 and this is 2020, and we're still dealing with the same old thing. So if you didn't grow up in the Niger Delta region, or you're not from Port Harcourt, you don't really know what the struggles are like dealing with some of these things that are going on, then this is such a great book, because it exposes you to stuff like that. It gives you an amazing history behind, you know, how this thing started and how it has evolved. I think that this book is highly underrated for the fact that I've not even heard about it. Well, maybe because I only started reading African fiction like 2 or 3 years ago. It needs to be explored more. I think that it's a must read for people who are in secondary schools, for them to understand what is going on in the Niger Delta region. And it's such a great book that explores Nigeria as it is. So I really want to say a huge kudos to the author. I know that as I was reading, I also wondered what type of writing style the author was using, because it tend to get a little bit confusing for me at some points in terms of paragraphing and then the writing style as well. But eventually I was able to catch on to the story, and honestly I did not even want to let go. The ending had me like, oh my goodness, like what is going on here? This guy, he had an amazing twist, and I could just see that sort of twist in a movie where you think that this is the way the book is going to end, and then it comes and then there's a huge bass boost that just slaps you one way or the other. So thank you, Chimeka Garricks, for doing such a lovely job. I will rate this book an outstanding 9.2 over 10. You guys can check your local bookstores or wherever you get your books from if you would like to check out this book. Let me know in the comments if you've read it. I know that I am late to this book and a lot of people have read this book before me. So let me know in the comments if you have read it, or if you plan to read it, or if there are any other books from like maybe 2009 or 10 that you've read that you think that I can check out as well. Thank you so much for watching this book review, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.